Hey guys, and thank you for clicking on today's video. I don't even know where to begin. I don't even know how to begin to address this, how to begin to fathom what has been taking place. And I've been, like a lot of people, pushing racism aside as not a serious issue, reposting stuff on my story which sure spreads awareness but is really just so people will look at me and be like, oh wow, you care about this, good for you, you get a gold star. But that is not okay. I really wanted to make this video because people are dying over this. A person is a person regardless of their skin colour. We're in 2020, but the decade doesn't mean anything if people's hearts aren't changing. I know I mention Andy Mineo a lot, but his lyrics really stuck out in my mind. My own people owned people, but they don't own that. They say racism's dead, our president is black. Talking about Barack Obama. 2 terms in a White House. That don't mean jack if we still believe our present ain't affected by our past. We talk so much about wanting to see change. We need to talk less and do more. We need to take more action. We need to be more forward in our approach to stopping racism. And in light of George Floyd, and my prayers go out to his family and friends, because that is such a horrific event for anyone to go to. Like, at first I didn't want to watch the video, but if we don't face what's going on, then nothing's gonna change. If we don't own up to what's happening, if we don't face what's happening. So if you are a bit like me and are or have avoided watching that video, then please take a look. George Floyd is a person like you, like me, like my friends, like my family, that there is just no justification for anyone going through something like that, ever. So please check out the video if you haven't already. It feels so helpless and hopeless as a teenager. You just feel like you have no power, you have no control over anything, that you just can't do anything about it. Well, I just wanted to give some pointers, some things that I think will help you in just day to day, because we feel like we can't control those people, those Minneapolis police, and we can't. But we can control how we act, our outlook on the world, our outlook on racism. So what can we do? Number 1 is anytime someone's making an offensive or racist joke, interrupt them and tell them you don't want to hear it. We think racist and offensive jokes don't really exist anymore, but one of my friends who is black has been personally affected by jokes that white friends have made towards her, derogatory jokes that are just plain right awful and just so degrading to that person as a human being. So anytime you hear an offensive joke, I know sometimes it's difficult to be the person who's speaking against someone, but there's just no excuse. There is just no excuse for you to keep quiet about it. I need to do it more too. I need to speak up about wrong things, and that's not just in terms of racism, that's on the broad spectrum of horrible jokes that people make about other people, but specifically, especially during this time, we really always we need to just pay attention to what other people say and correct them. On the same sort of lines, we should always speak up when we witness discrimination, when we witness and experience discrimination. Just full stop. I don't need to elaborate. This is someone's well-being, this is someone's life potentially we're talking about. Someone's whole life can be entirely affected by what people say to them in secondary school. So please, if you see or experience any forms of racism, speak up about it, because it's not okay. As well as that, if any of your friends or anyone you know has experienced racist actions against them, then be there for that person, remind them of their value and offer support for them. As well as that, we should all welcome people regardless of race, regardless of gender, regardless of sex, into our groups, into our friendship groups. people's skin colour determining whether they're a worthy human being. Not okay. We should value diversity. As well as that, I would encourage you to educate yourself about human rights. I can definitely work on this. So in EPR I'm currently doing about human rights, and oftentimes before I found this subject really boring because it's just like, yeah, well, I know human rights, I have human rights, whatever. But recently, because of George Floyd, it's really awakened me and opened my eyes and thought, wow, it's not all about me. One, I should be so grateful that I have the human rights that I do, that I have access to all the human rights. But as well as that, I should be so sensitive to those people who don't have basic human rights. And that horrifies me that that is happening, that those people are experiencing that. But educate yourself about human rights. Be grateful for what you have access to. Knowledge is power. Another thing we should really encourage is conversation between all ages, between all races. We shouldn't be afraid to talk about this. If we just keep sweeping it under the carpet, then nothing's going to be done. We need to come together. We need to have conversations with our children in the future. We need to have conversations with people our age right now. We need to talk to our parents about stuff like this. Like, this is important. Just try and have conversations about it. Don't push it away. Instead, encourage it and welcome it. I would also say question the validity, how true generalized statements and stereotypes are about people, because 90% of the time they are completely off base or they're completely outdated. They refer to something that happened years ago. I know people who still joke and say black people are slaves. Historically, that's true, and that did happen at one point in time, but people can't seem to move past that, and people can't seem to see past that. And I just hate how narrow-minded that is, and if we can't see past the person's colour, then there's something severely wrong with us. We need to be looking at who they are inside, which is a person. I've often thought, well, some of my friends are black, so, you know, that doesn't make me racist. That is so myopic and narrow-minded. That is just not it. And frankly, that doesn't make me different from a lot of people. A lot of the time I've thought as well, surely it will change in the future. The younger generation are going to be better. We're going to be more welcoming. But number one, that's allowing room for the older generation to be racist. Or we'll just wait for them to like die off and then there won't be racism. Really, when I think about it, the older generation were the ones who brought up our parents, and they're the ones bringing up us. So really, it will still be passed on. Children will still be growing up hearing racist remarks, hearing remarks that are stereotypical, generalized statements about people because of their race. So that is not a good enough excuse. I was reading recently about young to old people, so a wide range of people who had been racist about a black person, thought that they were in a telephone booth doing drugs when they were actually crying because they'd lost their parents, thinking they were going to attack them in the subway when really all they wanted to do was just get a train. Even if consciously we're against racism, there is some part in our subconscious, I'm sure, that assumes something about someone because of their skin colour. And maybe that seems hopeless, maybe that seems, well, there's nothing we can do about it. We can be mindful of what we say, we can be mindful of what we do. We have so much control over our actions. George Floyd, my heart breaks that happened to him, and it feels hopeless. It feels like we have no control over the police, and we don't. But we can make a change from where we are now, where we're sitting. We can make a change in our schools. We can make a change in the workforce. We can make a change in our friendship groups. If we band together, we can do this. We can overcome this. So please take all I've said and do research. Learn more about how you can help, how you can get stuck in. Usually I'd apologise for doing a video about something deep, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to apologise for talking about something that we should all be talking about. We should all be having this conversation. In fact, we shouldn't even be having this conversation. We should be doing. We should be making every effort we can to love people. And yes, it's effort, but it only results in good. Thank you very much for watching, and please keep having this important conversation and just keep pressing on to truth. I say it even more so to you now. Say less, do more.